All right. Per usual, we're just going to wait a little bit till we get a couple of more people on here watching. Today's video is just going to be a Q&A, me giving my updates about everything that we've been like building in the garden. We have been doing so much stuff. It's been hard to make videos as often as I've wanted to lately, but it's definitely going to be worth it. We have so much going on in the garden, and now that we moved, and now that we have just over zero point 0.3 acres all to ourselves for our gardening, this is going to be the chance for me to really expand our vegetable gardens, our perennial gardens, our fruit trees, the perennial vegetables that I want to get into later on in the garden too. It's just so exciting. There's a lot of cool stuff happening here in the garden. Starting off with the garden beds, we've built a bunch of them recently. We have 7 of them built right now, but in total, we plan on building around 12 garden beds in the new backyard here. So I'm super excited for that. That's gonna hold all of our veggies and perennial vegetables and stuff like rhubarb and everything too. So very excited for that. I think it's going to be great to have so many raised garden beds. That way I can keep all of my crops together, and really it's going to allow me to rotate my crops the way I want to, compared to if I've got 1 or 2 raised beds. Having 12 raised garden beds is going to be so much easier to make sure I have high quality soil by rotating all of my crops where I need them and being able to companion plant where needed as well. So it's going to be really great to have that. And then just the growing space overall, there's going to be so much more growing space here than I've ever had in the past. I have had, well, actually, I take that back. I have had a pretty large in-ground garden in the past. It was a 75-foot round pen footprint that we used to have all the horses on. And when we moved that round pen, I just set a sprinkler right in the middle of that bad boy and planted the whole thing up with beans, peas, corns, carrots, cucumber, lettuce, spinach, all sorts of stuff. So that would have to be the biggest garden that I've had, but I was like 14, 15 years old. So it was just kind of for fun and not quite as serious, you might say. And obviously I wasn't filming at that time, so I wasn't showing you guys how to garden at that time either. So having all these raised garden beds to help share my experiences with you guys is going to be so much fun. I've got to open up the chat here. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please just drop them down below. It doesn't have to be gardening related either. Just whatever sort of questions you might want to ask me, definitely feel free to ask, whether it's about my everyday life, gardening, different hobbies that I have, just whatever. Any questions you guys have, feel free to ask them. Stuff about growing a YouTube channel and everything like that too. I'm not a professional by any means, but I think it is something that anybody should really look into. If they have a hobby that they enjoy and like to do, you should really look into starting a YouTube channel at some point in your future. Even if you don't want to stream on YouTube, there's all sorts of other platforms that you can do it on. And it's just, I think it's important that we share our experiences with others, so that maybe when somebody is struggling with something, they want to find out what's happening, find out what they can do about it, or if anybody else has experienced the same struggle, that they can now go online and find that. And so that's one really rewarding aspect of YouTube, is I found that I'm able to inspire a lot of people to garden. and I'm also able to connect with a bunch of other people that I never would have been able to connect with without the internet and the platform. So it's been a blessing as far as that goes. And I love doing it. I mean, I realized that I was doing all this gardening anyways, so I might as well start a channel. And that's really how I started this almost 4 years ago now. And it's been so much fun getting up to this point. Other things we've been doing in the backyard is we've built a perimeter fence, like a 6 foot fence around the whole backyard here. We're working on building our water catch system. So we're going to collect all of our rainwater from the roof to utilize that in the garden, which is going to be really good. It adds a layer of sustainability into our garden, which I am all about. So that rainwater system is going to be a highlighted video in the future here. I'm looking to do that this week at some point. I have another a leaf blower review video I've got to do, and then I'll be doing that rainwater video after that. But I have been looking into like not doing these review videos as much, just because as time goes on, I'm finding more and more often that these products that I'm getting sent to review are just knockoff OEM, like basic standard products that I guess you would say like a shell company produces. And so there might be a dozen or 2 dozen companies producing the same exact product under different names. I mean, just this week, I got another email about reviewing a grow light. I think it was actually called Here Grow because their grow lights were so silent. And looking at all of the specs, the construction, the where it was manufactured and everything else, it was completely, absolutely 100% identical to another light that I've reviewed in the past, which didn't turn out so good. And so my whole point is that a lot of these companies seem to be getting all their parts from the same place. They're all the same manufacturer, same everything, but then they just slap on their name, post it to Amazon, and basically what I'm finding that they're doing is that they're either paying people. I can't say they're all every company is paying people. I've never gotten paid to do a review. I've only been gotten sent products, but they're either paying people to review these products, or they are just sending out a ton of free samples to get the verified reviews on Amazon. And I just find it's funny that the only companies that have reached out for me for reviews like this are companies that are on Amazon, and of course, they are foreign companies. So I don't really like that. I don't really want to contribute to that either. Like, just personally, I don't feel very good about that. So unless it's a product that I think you guys could really gain some value on, or if it's something that I bought myself, like my new electric lawnmower or my Sunjo, it's a little wood chipper that I bought, stuff like that, I want to do some personal reviews on that I haven't been sent that product. But all of these companies reaching out to me about these stupid products that just are subpar, I'm really considering not doing them. I will definitely be doing the grow light companies that I have found to be best, um, like Grow Star, Nilo, Spider Farm. Those are some great ones, but I'm probably going to keep on doing those. But all of the rest, I'm just not so sure on if I want to keep on doing those reviews because of that. So as I was talking about projects in the backyard, as you guys also know, we bought a house and we've did a complete remodel inside. So we have been working from, sun up to sundown. I've got my normal daytime job, and then I have all of the gardening and all the work in the house and outside of the house and everything else too on top of that. So it is just so busy, but I am nonetheless, very, very excited to continue producing more and more content for you guys. See, I don't want to. I found just yesterday I was going to make a video on my Guatemalense monstros cacti that I've been growing. And I kind of realized that it wasn't going to be a high quality video. It was only going to be a couple of minutes. I didn't have a lot of information on it. So I really didn't want to post that video yesterday. I would rather wait until I had some of these topics that I really want to talk about, like this rainwater system that we have in the backyard. And, you know, I don't really want to push out 4 videos a week or 5 videos a week if it's not going to be good content for you guys. So while we are doing all these, all of the work to get our backyard up to par, I won't be able to produce as much content as I did earlier in the spring. We were producing a video every single day because COVID hit and I was off of work for a couple of weeks. And then I got into the groove because it was springtime. We've got so many things growing. I was very excited for all of the stuff. I wanted to show you guys every little thing that I could this spring. So I think we did a video a day for about 2 months, a month and a half. And that was awesome. That was the most videos that I ever pumped out in such a short amount of time. And they were also good videos. I spent a lot of time editing them. I was very, very intentional when I was filming those videos to make sure that you guys felt connected with them and also felt like you were learning important and valuable lessons in your gardens as well. So right now I'll be posting about twice a week. I'll continue on with that until really things slow down here in the house. It's probably going to be another month or two until we are like just about totally finished with our all the fencing, all the trim work has to be put up yet. We got to finish some doors and garbage disposal, electrical, some lights, stuff like that, little touch up stuff, but it does take a lot of time. So once that's all over, then I plan on going up to 3 videos a week. Granted, again, I got to make sure that I have this content lined up for you guys. So, which is kind of why I decided to do a live stream today, is because we've gotten a ton of rain lately. And so there isn't really, like, including today right now, I just can't really film anything outside. I haven't set up my little grow area indoors yet. So I was like, you know what? I haven't been live in several months. I mean, almost like probably like 5 months or something like that. I don't know exactly. It's been a while though. Bubbly. And I thought it'd be good to go live with you guys and see if you had any questions or anything like that. I don't have any questions coming in the chat yet, but post them, guys. I will answer any questions that you guys have, gardening related or not. Just please comment, get engaged, and let's start some conversations. Going into like our fall schedule, what we plan on doing is getting our indoor grow areas set up in this new home. I don't have anything down there right now in the basement. I don't really have the space up in the first floor of the house here that I want to grow some of my vegetables over winter in. I want to do sprouts and stuff like that too. And I want to plant a couple of perennial flowers indoors and start experimenting with those too. It's going to be a lot of experiments over the winter indoors and growing. And so we're going to be setting that up real soon here. I'll be making videos of all of our progress and transformation that we're going to make downstairs with this new grow area that we're about to set up. I think it's going to be really cool. Again, I do want to emphasize on sprouts and microgreens this winter because it's something I've done on a fairly small scale in the past, but I think that it's about time that I start growing them in larger quantities so I can hone in my skills a little bit. And then I said that I want to start growing some perennial flowers and stuff downstairs over winter too. I think that'd be just cool because I can get all these plants growing and ready for my landscaping projects that I have to do this this next spring. And then, so fall, we plan on building a bunch of these beds out and probably getting a bunch of them planted in the spring, except for all the stuff that we transplant in the winter. But I don't really have an entire list um, for what we're going to transplant, what we're going to grow and stuff. I do have a bunch of seeds down in the basement that we bought earlier this spring. We've got a bunch of pretty cool, interesting plants. They're all perennials. And then we also have a bunch of cool perennial herbs that we're going to be growing in that grow area too. That includes, there is a hardy like rosemary plant that we want to be growing. There's a hardy lavender, like it's a lavender hyssop, a winter, I think it's called winter savory. Yeah, winter savory plant. And then, every other herb that I found online that I could grow perennially, I bought all the seeds for. So we've got about a dozen, just under a dozen of those different varieties that we're going to grow in our herb gardens here, because it's so nice to be able to go out in the garden and just pick some fresh herbs. So we'll be doing that too for sure. It's going to be, again, very nice to have all this space to grow the different things that we want to. Being that they're herbs, so if you're growing mint and stuff like that, I always do recommend, so please grow your mint, grow most of your herbs like in a raised garden bed or a container where you can keep those consolidated and separate from the rest of your yard, because we all know that mint goes crazy. Mint will spread throughout your whole yard faster than a plague, and especially like cat mint. I can't tell you how many people I have done landscaping work for, and they call me. And one of the major problems that they've had in their landscape beds is that they planted one tiny little bunch of catmint 2 or 3 years ago, just a tiny little bit, one bunch. I mean, wouldn't hurt, right? And over time, that catmint grows up, it tips over, and so one plant can really spread a good like 5, 6 feet off of one catmint plant. Because if you think if it's 3 feet tall, it's going to tip over, it's going to set roots, it's going to set seeds down, and it's going to grow from there. So the catmint really is a big problem in the backyards, and all sorts of other mints too. I really don't recommend growing them freely in your landscape unless you're going to watch it every single year. If you want to create a landscape where you don't have to do a lot of work, then that is not the type of plant that you want to be growing. At least in my experience, I've never had good experience with growing any sort of mints in a landscape without them taking over. So that's, again, why we're going to be growing them in our raised garden beds, along with all of our other herbs that we will be using for culinary purposes. We're going to be setting up probably a new series. I don't know how often we're going to be doing videos, but my wife wants to take part in cooking. So what she wants to do is start taking all these fresh ingredients that we have from the garden, and then what we'll do is take them, prepare them, get different recipes that utilize all of these things that we've grown in the garden, and show you guys how to cook and prepare them. I thought it'd be pretty interesting. And we also want to get more into like the wild edibles and stuff like that that are growing natively in our area, and incorporating them into our recipes in some sort of way too, because there's definitely a lot of wild edibles out there that people just are not using anymore. And unfortunately, that's really, really not a it's sad. It's sad because a lot of these wild edibles are very, very nutritionally dense. They have almost more nutrition than a lot of the vegetables that we can buy in superstores nowadays, because these things have been growing for hundreds or thousands of years in some cases. So purslane, if you guys are familiar with that, purslane is the it has the highest concentration of omega-3 fatty acids out of any other leafy green that we've found to date on this planet. While that does seem like a stretch, I don't know if I've looked it up, I've researched it, and every single article that I read still says the same thing. I would think that there's some crazy plant out there in the Amazon or something that would maybe be able to beat that. But to my knowledge and most other people's knowledge as well, that is has the highest concentration of omega threes in any other leafy green. Very concentrated. This purslane also has an abundance of other vitamins and minerals in it. And it's generally known as that plant that grows in your sidewalk and in between the cracks of roads and the side of the road and stuff like that. It's got like succulent little like teardrop shaped leaves. And then as it grows older, the stems of it turn red. If you just Google it right now, purslane, you'll definitely recognize it. And I encourage you guys to try and get this to grow in your gardens. What I actually have done in the past, if you saw my video, I think it was last year I did it. We harvested over 5 pounds of purslane out of our vegetable garden. It was growing right underneath, kind of as a ground cover, right along with all of our other vegetables. This purslane was growing out through the entire bed, and it didn't affect any of our vegetables. We had an incredible harvest, and I had to do almost no weeding at all because of that. So purslane, I'm going to look into more and more every single year as a companion plant to see what it grows well with, how it feeds the soil, how it works the soil, and how it's keeping the soil alive. One thing that I noticed last year throughout our experiment of growing it in our garden beds was that this purslane, when it grew, the roots, they don't grow way down deep with a giant taproot or anything like that. It kind of spreads throughout the top surface of the soil more so, which kind of explains why it can just grow like in a crack or anything like that, because the root system just spreads way out. So what I found was these purslane roots were not interfering with any of the other plants, and it grew very, very well next to all of them. So I'm going to be doing the same thing in a lot of our new raised garden beds that we're building in the backyard here. So I will start with 1 or 2 beds and grow them back there with the vegetables to see how they do again, to see if I can duplicate these results, and to see if maybe if I set up 2 identical beds, if there's any difference between the 2. I don't think there will be, because of the general nature of that root system and how it worked last year based off of my observation. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Like I said, we got over 5 pounds. It was an extremely dense harvest that was growing right underneath all of our tomatoes, kohlrabi, broccoli, peppers, beans, peas, like everything was growing right alongside it without any issues at all. So I think it's something worth looking more into. And for you guys, if you haven't grown or cultivated any purslane, there is a lot of different websites that you can buy purslane seeds on. Um, but an easy way to go and get seeds of your own is wait until later in the year. Don't rip these purslane up out of your sidewalk or your road or anything like that. Just leave it be. Um, it's going to put off little, they look like tiny little cones off after the flower. And these are going to be the seed pods. They're black in color. You can take those seed pods, break them apart. You'll see a ton of tiny, tiny, tiny little seeds that are about the size of a pinhead. And those are the seeds that you're going to want to grow. You probably have to you can either just leave them outside over winter, like put them in a container, leave them outside and everything like that, so they get the stratification that they need. It all depends on the climate that you're in, but otherwise usually it does work too if you bring those seeds inside and store them, but then before you plant them you just throw them in the freezer for a few weeks. Usually 2 to 3 weeks is enough time to trigger that seed, to think that it is winter. Winter has gone by, you're taking it out, you have now planted those seeds and they are growing. So if you take those seeds, put them in the freezer for a few weeks, bring them out, and then if you want to start off with them growing in a different garden bed, you can at least do that. I really recommend growing purslane either way, whether or not you're going to be growing them with other plants. Totally fine, totally up to you. But purslane is something you guys should be growing in the house. In the yard, excuse me. I was distracted. I wanted to make sure that the stream looked okay still. Let's see. I don't want to keep on going on. I could just talk and talk and talk about my different gardening experiences, what I'm going through right now and stuff in the past, like without any other people triggering me or asking me questions. But I don't want to bore you guys. I hope I'm not. It's like 27 minutes in this thing and I've just been rambling because plants are just awesome. Gardening is awesome. And that's part of why I do this and part of why I am starting to do more and more stuff with vegetables and food. I want to get into foodscaping too. If you guys don't know what that is, that's basically replacing your traditional landscape beds that you would have in the front or the side of your house and all that stuff with your perennial flowers or your annual flowers. Basically replacing that or integrating into that with some edibles, some fruit, some vegetables, stuff that is going to provide you guys with a little bit of sustainability, because that word sustainability is really important right now. And I think is going to become even more important in the future. So the more we can get our hands on it and get our hands dirty with and wrap our minds around how to grow these different food crops in our own homes and around in our landscape, I think the better off we're all going to be. So I'm transitioning more and more into stuff that is going to feed you guys, stuff that's going to feed me, because that's what I've been finding to be more rewarding. I find there to be more enthusiasm with me when I'm filming videos like that compared to houseplants inside. I mean, I love houseplants. I really do. They're so much fun to grow. And there's so many different plants you can buy, trade, grow, propagate. But I don't find it to be as rewarding as showing people and teaching people how to grow food for themselves. Hey, dude. Hi.
Hi.
I'm streaming. Do you want to say hi?
Yeah.
Here, come and say hi.
His shirt's on backwards.
Oh, he just came back from the neighbor. Say hi.
Hi.
Who's that?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
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 Okay.
Hi.
All right.
Come
Go on and play.
Jump. 1, 2.
So growing food and stuff like that is also really important for me to teach him and to teach my family. And so I hope that you guys enjoy it too. I hope that I start transitioning some of my subscriber base into that mindset too. I hope that you guys find the importance of growing your own food. If you haven't already, definitely start doing it. I know a lot of my newer subscribers are pretty much all based off of these vegetables and food crops. So thank you guys all so much for subscribing to the channel. It means so much to me. I would really like to see what you guys are growing too, or to hear your stories. And so, like, I've got to find out some sort of a way that we can all share that stuff. I do have my Discord channel. Let me bring it up here quick. I think I have the link in the description of all my videos still, but like we've only got about like 4 or 5 people on this Discord channel here. And so if we could get more people here, let's see, 7 members. Yeah, if we could get more people on that Discord chat to just update each other on how our gardens are. If we have any questions, we can post right to that Discord chat too. And then we can put all of our minds together to find a solution for one another. I think that'd be really cool. So I've got to start sharing that more often. I haven't done a lot of promotion for that to try and get more people to join it. But I think it would be pretty cool to have more people on it compared to right now. Like I said, the 7 people, and then the last time we've talked about anything was like not quite a month ago, like 2 weeks ago. Hey, buddy, that's too loud. Okay. So what? I was talking about engagement and stuff like that. I think it's really important that, like, as I am starting to grow more food crops and stuff like that, that we all share experiences together. We got a comment. I'm going to talk about the comment because it's our first comment. Found this channel for cactus and grow lights. We were able to start all of the plants in our garden from seed, all in our indoor greenhouse. Indoor greenhouse, nice. Like one of those little pole and plastic ones. I'm assuming those are pretty. I had a couple of those back in the day. Thanks for the info. Hope you keep growing. Peace. Thank you. Yes, I will be growing, like, as long as YouTube is here and until another platform pops up, which, like, if YouTube ever went away, I would be on another platform. Everybody would know which platform I would be going onto, but I don't think YouTube's going to be going away anytime soon. So for all I know, I could be posting videos for the next 30 years with you guys. And by that point, I think I'm going to have a lot of knowledge put up in this old noggin. I do consider myself somewhat of a, like, semi-amateur. I would say the only thing that sets me apart from just your regular hobby gardener is that I do a lot of research on these topics. I do a lot of in-depth reading on gardening, like almost all of the time. If I'm not fixing up my house, working in the backyard, working in the gardens, or learning about how to grow a YouTube channel, I am learning about how to grow plants, like, constantly, 24/7. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. And it's what I love to inspire other people to do. Again, my ultimate goal here on YouTube is to inspire people to get out and garden. I think that many people are afraid of, when they start gardening, what's going to happen? If they don't know everything, if they don't know how to water this specific plant, what the specific needs are for this plant, that they're going to fail. But the truth could not be any further away, because all it takes is for you guys to get out there and either put those seedlings into the ground, or put those seeds in the ground. Tend them for a little bit. For the first few weeks of their life is going to be the most crucial. But after that point, like, you're growing soil, and it's going to take a while for your soil to produce good plants for you guys, because we've got to have good soil to feed our plants. Without that soil, we're not going to have as good of a harvest as we would have without it. But if you don't have any plants in the ground, your soil is not going to get any better. You're not going to get any better at gardening. You're not going to learn how to fail, and you're not going to grow. But if you guys do put in those plants, you guys do put in those seeds, and say half of them die, well, seeds are like $2 a pack. You might have wasted a couple bucks by the time, say, you kill a bunch of your cucumbers and peas and beans, and your broccoli bolted and flowered, didn't actually give you guys a broccoli head. You can still eat those, by the way. You might have failed in a way, but I'm sure along the line, you're definitely growing your soil. You're making your soil better just by having those plants in there. And two, you're going to be learning some lessons along the way. It takes years and years and years of lessons and failures to become a better gardener. So it's not about these rules. It's not about all these extremely dialed in specifics when it comes to planting these plants. What it really takes is for us to get out there, get the seeds growing, and then see how our garden does. If we've got a bunch of plants that just completely fizz out and die, chances are that you are going to be compelled to do some research and find out what you did wrong. So, hey, I've been watering every single day for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it's possible that I waterlogged my plants. And maybe even you're growing, say, blueberries and stuff like that, and you just don't know why your blueberries are growing as well. So you look it up after you have your blueberry plant in the ground. You then do research and figure out why it's not producing so well. You say, oh, hey, I guess my soil is not at the right pH. So you adjust your soil for that next year. But unless you put those plants in the ground in the first place, you're never going to learn that. You're never going to learn these valuable lessons. So step one is always going to be getting the plants in the ground and growing. Connecting with others in the gardening community about it too is so important, because we can all share our experience, and we can all get pumped up together, be excited about growing, and we can all want to grow more and more because of experiences that we share with each other too. So just do it. Get out there and do it. Don't be afraid if some of your leaves are turning yellow or something like that. Don't be afraid of stuff like that. If you get a little bit of insect damage, don't be afraid of that. Don't go out and spray a bunch of pesticides right away. Don't fill up your soil full of fertilizer because you don't think your plants are growing right. You've got to grow the soil first. So before you can do anything, you've just got to start growing plants so you can grow your soil, so you can learn, and then get a better harvest next year, and do the same thing over and over again. I will say right off the bat, if you guys are starting to grow some new gardens in your area or a backyard or whatever it might be, I really do recommend, one, if you're growing on a smaller scale, use a raised garden bed, and then try and implement fungi and no-till gardening methods in your gardens. Because ever since I've been doing that, I have found a better and better harvest every single year. in the raised garden beds as they age. The older they are, the better the soil gets and the better the plants get, the better the mycorrhizal fungi is growing, and we are all happy because of that. So don't till up your soil every single year. What that's going to do is tear up all of the mycorrhizal fungi, everything that's growing there. It's going to pull it up, it's going to dry it out, and it's going to kill it. What we really want to create is a living soil. If we create a living soil by not tilling it, by regularly amending it with compost, wood chips, or mulch, and plants, again, you need growing plants in that soil, then you guys are going to be golden. What the wood chips and mulch do is they provide kind of a long-term fertilizer to your soil. They're going to break down over a long period of time compared to a regular compost. So if you guys are throwing your compost in from your compost bin into your garden, that's going to break down relatively quickly. The microorganisms, earthworms, and everything living in your soil, it's going to eat up that compost pretty quickly. But the mulch and wood chips generally breaks down over a period of a couple of years, depending on the size of the wood chips, if it's shredded or big chunks. And so that's a really slow release. The wood chips and mulch also hold a lot of moisture. If you don't have mulch up on the top layer of your raised garden bed, it's going to dry out so much quicker than it does when you guys have mulch or wood chips in there. Because of that, you're going to have better plants growing. And then we are also providing a great place for fungi to grow. So the key aspect of fungi, if you guys haven't done any research into it or anything, the main point of it is to feed your plants again. So what this fungi does is it starts growing in all these crevices. It starts breaking down organic materials in the soil. It takes what it needs, and then it also gives what it doesn't need. So it'll work in a symbiotic relationship with the root systems of our plants. It's essentially going to be feeding your plants directly. These relationships, if you think about it, have been developing over time since the planet existed. Mycorrhizal fungi and fungi is some of the oldest living organisms on the planet. And these things are smart. Fungi, I believe, is also technically the largest organism in the world. I don't know where it is. I don't know what the location is, but the one fungi system had spanned across this giant forest. And so it's just so fascinating, especially when we look into why it feeds our plants and why it helps us grow our plants. So do not let that go to waste, because fungi is just amazing. It is incredible. The more and more I look into it and do research, the more excited I am about it. And you can buy like inoculants and stuff like that all over the internet. I've used Earthman Living Soil lately. Over the past few months, he reached out to me he's from New York, and he creates his own products. They're great. Most of them are like IMO amendments for your soil. So indigenous microorganisms, if you guys have, please do some research in that. Just Google IMO gardening or Korean natural farming to check out all that stuff. It's a lot of really, really cool stuff. Somebody joined. Oh, that's older. Yeah, so we've got to grow our soil. That's the bottom line. And if you guys don't get out there and grow, then you're not going to be growing your soil. Don't be afraid of the rules. Don't stress yourself out over whether or not your plants are yellowing or looking perfect and beautiful. Like, it is nice to have a really nice looking garden. But as I showed in a previous video, even a garden that was not on our property that we just had not had any time to tend to, like literally at all. We've barely even watered it this year. Thankfully, we've gotten a lot of rain. But even that garden that we haven't been able to tend still gave us a valuable harvest. And the work that I put into growing the seedlings early on in the season and doing the research and how to lay out the garden bed and that stuff and when to plant the seeds and all that really paid off in the end, even though on the interim, I really didn't do anything in the garden at all, which is weird. And I didn't want it to be that way. But again, we remodeled the house. We had so much stuff to do here in the home that we just had no time at all for it. So it was a bummer because we were just built those 2 new beds and we were going to trellis our tomatoes and have a really cool video on how to do that for you guys. But it looks like we're going to have to do that next year here in our new home, which is okay. But we're just another year back on that specific video that I've been wanting to do for a long time because I had great results on trellising my cucumbers, and a local aquaponics garden center here, they trellis their tomatoes too. And so they were one of the reasons that I was inspired to go and do some research on it. And I really wanted to trellis my tomatoes for you guys, but I just did not get to it because I was so incredibly busy. So whether or not you have time to tend your garden, it's probably still going to produce a harvest for you guys. Don't be afraid. Get out and garden. Let's open this up to questions. If you guys have any questions, we're coming up on almost an hour, 47 minutes. I know there's only a couple of you, but let me type in Q&A time. Any questions? Oops. It's hard to type like this. Ask me anything. Boy, I wish I could start like podcast or something. I know I'm way too busy to do that. I think it would be a lot of fun to do, especially since like when you start talking like this, I think eventually you just kind of go on tangents with different types of topics and everything like that. So a podcast would be cool, but that's going to be more so in the realm of when I go like full time on YouTube, whether that's like 5 years from now or 3 years or whatever it might be. I think a podcast will definitely be in the works, and then I can talk to some more interesting people in the field too, and talk to gardeners about their stories, and maybe even some of our viewers too would like to join in on the chat and stuff like that. So eventually I've been thinking about doing a podcast, but we'll see. Not right now. I just don't have the time for it right now. And I don't have anybody to do it with me. So until I'm able to get some people that are wanting to do a podcast with me, I can't really fill up an hour, 2 hours of radio time by myself, unfortunately. I could talk for a while, but it's not very entertaining. So guys, any questions? Please ask them. Please. Any? You might be asking why I'm just sitting in my room and not outside. Well, because it was raining and now it's dark out. So otherwise I would be outside doing this. I'm just going to sit here. drink my sparkling water. Refreshing. Until I get a question. 2 of you, you're still watching. Please ask a question. Type in anything. Otherwise, I'm going to end this video pretty soon here. My first time tuning in, Rodney's next chapter. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. If you're a new subscriber, thank you very much. I just rambled on for the last 50 minutes about all sorts of stuff, but I think the major takeaways of this live stream was that you guys should just hop into gardening and don't be afraid of the rules. Just get out there and grow. And then I am looking to kind of gear this channel more and more into vegetables and food crops, and then growing those food crops and vegetables and stuff indoors. And I, of course, I'm going to have a lot of houseplant content throughout the winter as well, but I want to transition into that because I think it's just more valuable for our viewers. I'm about to check out your LED light video. Thank you. Got lots of them. I've got a whole playlist. Rodney, if you're still watching, I got a whole playlist on my channel. Just go over to the channel, find the playlist section, and then I think it's just titled LED grow lights. So, wasn't a question, but a little bit of conversation there. Anybody have any questions? Oh, life update of Ripley. I just passed my journeyman's test as an electrician. So passing that test was a giant burden off of my shoulder. It was very stressful for quite a bit of time. Just, I mean, even after I took that test, it was so wondering. It was like, did I pass? Did I not pass? It was like, I feel like I passed. But then again, I know like 1 or 2 dudes that actually passed out of my class. So very grateful, very happy that I passed. All of my hard work and studying had paid off. So very happy about that. Just in case you guys were wondering. Probably not. Any questions? Questions, guys. Right now I'm doing a Q&A before we end up here. I would like to just, if you guys got anything on your mind that you want to talk about, please put it into the chat. And Ripley, I will chat about it with you. I've got a, I don't know what this is, biscotti thing. I don't even know. I'm not good with foods like this. It's like dip it in your coffee. Pretty good. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you. Questions. Anybody, ask me about anything. Doesn't have to be about gardening. No? Boy. Yeah, I'm still going to just keep on talking. I'll probably go, if I don't have any questions, I'll go until like 60 minutes. We'll end at an hour. But we got 5 people viewing right now, so I feel like I should be talking about something. So next topic, what haven't we talked about right now? Oh, what I plan on doing for fruit trees in our elderberries and willow trees, I haven't talked about those. Trees, I haven't talked about yet in this video. So before I watch the videos, I guess, what are some good things you grow indoors? So the major things that I use grow lights for indoors are a lot of my house plants. So I've got more house plants than I have windowsill. So over time, like when we had the condo, we had this big kind of a little room above our stairwell that was all full of my plants. And so that's what most of my grow lights were used for, was those. And then if I am growing my seedlings indoors, I will use grow lights for those. If I'm growing sempervivum pups indoors or propagating different types of plants indoors, I use the grow lights for that too. Um, you can grow almost anything indoors with grow lights if you've got them. I, in the past, have set up an aquaponics center that had beans, peas, broccoli. What else do we do with it? Peppers, and I was going to grow tomatoes, but I never got around to it. But you can definitely grow all that stuff indoors too. A lot of people just don't, because it is a little bit harder to grow indoors because of aphids. So you tend to get a little bit of like a bug problem if you don't keep up with it while you're growing indoors. For some reason, they just love plants growing indoors. We all know, like, we've all probably had a succulent or two that's been all of a sudden just completely overtaken by aphids or spider mites or something like that. So that's one big deterrent why a lot of people don't grow indoors, is because of the bug problem. But um, you can definitely grow so many different things indoors, especially if you've got like a 1,000 watt LED grow light. You can grow just about any vegetable that you want to, except for something that is going to get huge, like zucchini plant, watermelon, stuff like that. Obviously, you're not going to grow indoors, but you can still grow all sorts of other things just fine, especially lettuces and spinach. You know, if you've got a whole bunch of lettuce growing and you use a cut and come again method, then that's a great way to get lettuce harvest year round indoors through that, is with those grow lights. So uh, I definitely recommend trying to grow some lettuce and spinach and herbs indoors too. That's a great way to grow. I usually just throw everything in the basement. Granted, it is colder. It probably doesn't grow them as well as it should. I have been looking into getting some sort of a room built where I can grow my plants that is a little bit heated down in the basement. So insulating a room and heating it to just like 70 or 72 degrees instead of like I think our basement's probably around like 65-ish, 64. It's a little bit too cold for some of these plants. So I've been looking into doing that. But in the past, like without any temperature adjustments at all, I've grown all those plants just fine. Or if you've got extra space upstairs or in your home somewhere where you can grow those too, even better than sticking them downstairs in the basement because of that colder temperature. Try spinach, broccoli, cauliflower. Awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. Definitely do it. Like, obviously your broccoli and cauliflower will need a little bit more space, but they typically don't grow above 3 feet, 2.5 feet, and then say a couple feet wide. And you get you get a lot of, plant mass out of that broccoli too that you'll be growing indoors. Microgreens, great to do. You can grow all sorts of seeds indoors and sprout them. Radishes are some of the most popular ones, and then sunflower seed sprouts are also very popular. Broccoli sprouts, very popular. And what I've done in the past with the microgreens, I really like the mixture of them. So you buy a mix that's got like 4 or 5 different kinds. That way you've got all of your nutritional content covered. It covers a wide range and base, and microgreens are fairly easy to grow too, as long as you harvest them in time so you don't get a lot of mold or mildew growing, and you keep your humidity content like at the right level, then you'll be golden. So yeah. So coming up on 59 minutes. We're going to take the last couple of questions here. Then I got to get going because I work in the morning and I got lots of other stuff to do tonight before I head off here. So if you guys have any other questions, comment down below. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Type it maybe. Otherwise, if you have any questions specifically, you can try and reach me on my email, wisconsinwondergarden@gmail.com. Otherwise, I tend to be more active on like responding to messages on Facebook. I'm not active on Facebook at all, really, for the most part, except for like responding to messages. There just seems to be more convenient than email. I don't know why, but it just is. So Rodney, thank you very much for the question. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in today. Give you a little bit longer for any questions if you've got them. Say like a good 30 or 45 seconds. Otherwise, like I said, the next couple of videos that I've got to do that leaf blower review video. I'll probably bundle it in with something else, so it's not just a leaf blower review. I'll probably throw it in with one of my normal videos. And then I've got the video that I'm excited about is going to be our water collection rain system. And then I'll show you guys how we're building our new compost bin. We're going to do one out of some pallets over here in the garden. That way we can get a big old pile of compost growing. And it's going to be a well-needed level of sustainability in the garden. Is going to be that water and compost. I think that adds to sustainability in the garden, and that's really the bottom line of what we're going for here. So with that, thank you guys all so much for tuning in, watching today. Again, not very many questions, a lot of viewers popping in and out, but if you guys got any questions, you know where to reach me. Please feel free to ask them if you have them. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope your gardens are growing well. I hope you guys are learning a lot this year. And hopefully as fall starts here, you guys are going to start getting geared towards, maybe growing some stuff indoors and also getting your next year's garden planned out. So, figure out what sort of failures you had this year, what sort of adjustments you might have to make next year. And that way you can put the two together to get a better garden that is going to produce more food for you guys. It's going to produce better flowers, better plants, and is also going to be more rewarding than it was this year. So thank you all so much for watching. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next video.